When a loved one names you as their executor, it feels like an honor, a sign that they trust you to handle their final affairs, and you might think, how hard can it be? But what many people don't realize is that serving as an executor can be a demanding, stressful, and sometimes overwhelming responsibility. It's not just about reading a will and distributing assets. It's a legal, financial, and emotional process that can take months or even years to complete sometimes. And the worst part, it often happens at a time when you're grieving. Before you agree to be an executor or assume your loved ones will easily handle your affairs, there are some hidden truths you need to know about that responsibility. So let's break down what's really involved, why it's harder than most people expect, and how you can make this process easier for your family. Most people assume that settling an estate is just a matter of signing a few forms and handing out inheritances. But the reality is, estate administration is a long and detailed process filled with legal requirements, financial complexities, and an overwhelming amount of paperwork. Here's step 1. You have to locate and gather all the documents, and the first challenge is actually finding everything. Your executor will need to get the original will, bank statements and investment account statements, life insurance policies, property deeds if you have any real estate, vehicle titles, business records, and tax returns. If these documents aren't stored in an obvious place, it can take weeks or even months to track them down. And without the proper paperwork, the estate may have to go through a probate process. And this is a court-supervised process that can add even more time and expenses to your loved ones. Step 2, then you gotta deal with the financial institutions. Once all of those documents are gathered, then the executor must notify all the financial institutions, credit card companies, insurance providers, and government agencies. The problem here, each of those institutions has its own process. Some of them require original death certificates, others need notarized letters, some will freeze accounts immediately, making it difficult to access funds or funeral expenses and ongoing bills. And banks in particular, they can take weeks or even months to release assets, often requiring multiple follow-ups. Step 3, managing property and real estate. If the deceased person owned a home, things can get even more complicated. The executor is responsible for paying the mortgage, utilities, and property taxes. And then they have to handle any maintenance and repairs, clean out and distribute personal belongings, and then determine whether they want to sell, rent, or transfer ownership of that property. If a house sits vacant for too long, it can be at risk for break-ins, weather damage, or even foreclosure if the mortgage is not paid on time. And selling a home, well, we all know that can take months, with repairs, appraisals, and legal paperwork slowing down the whole process. Imagine trying to decide what to do with decades of worth of memories while also navigating the legal and financial aspect. It's such a heavy burden for a lot of people. And then step 4 is gonna be filing taxes and settling debts if the deceased had any. So the executor must handle taxes and debts before they can distribute the remaining estates. They may need to file final income tax return, estate taxes if applicable, settle outstanding debts, and negotiate with creditors to come up with a payment plan if applicable. And here's the kicker. If the executor distributes assets before handling any debts, they could be held personally liable for unpaid bills. That means they could have to pay all of that out of their own pocket. That is why estate administration can take months or even years. It's a slow, detailed process that requires careful handling. Beyond the time commitment, there's an emotional and financial toll. Many executors don't realize that they may need to pay for some out-of-pocket expenses before they can be reimbursed by the estate. Some of these expenses include court filing fees, property maintenance costs, attorney and accountant fees. If the estate has cash readily available, this might not be much of a problem. But if assets are tied up in real estate investments or probate, the executor might have to front thousands of dollars before seeing any reimbursement. And then there's the emotional stress. Family tensions often surface during estate administration, disputes over money, personal belongings, or even perceived favoritism can cause deep rifts. Long-standing family conflicts often resurface at this time of life. And in today's digital age, executors also have to deal with digital assets, email accounts, online bank, cryptocurrency, and even a social media account. And without clear instructions, accessing those assets can be a nightmare. So how can you make things easier for your loved ones? That is where our comprehensive life and legacy planning process comes in. Unlike traditional estate planning, which only focuses on documents, my approach ensures that you have a complete, updated inventory of assets, clear instructions for accessing financial and digital accounts, detailed plans for distributing property and preventing conflicts, ongoing support for your executor so that they don't have to figure everything out alone. And most importantly, my process keeps your family out of court and out of conflict. Estate planning isn't just about legal documents. It's about making sure your loved ones don't struggle when you're gone. If you don't have a solid estate plan in place, or if you're relying on a simple will without considering real challenges of estate administration, now is the time to take action. You can schedule a free consultation with my firm, and we can create a plan that truly works for you and your family. Together, we will make sure that your legacy is protected and your loved ones are cared for without unnecessary stress, delays, and conflict. Spread the word. If you like this video, as always, share with anyone who you think needs to hear this. And let me know if you have any questions in the comment. I read every one of them, and I would love to help you with that.